Coming to you from the Spit Studios in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. This is the Spit Sports Show. This is an interesting period in sports, isn't it? You still have the NHL and the NBA, but the way that they do their finals nowadays, it isn't every other day. The ideal way that these leagues would put on their finals is one day NHL, one day NBA, one day NHL, one day NBA. Like, how hard can that be? They do that for the conference finals. They're playing pretty much every other day. The first round, they get, I think, one little 2-day break in the middle of it. I know they do in the NBA. This is the finals. Like, I understand you want both teams to be at their best and most rested. Like, I understand that argument. But from a pure consumerism standpoint, I really don't understand how it isn't just one day, one day, one day, one day, maybe a travel day in between. But even they're doing these home games to where there's 2 days in between them. But anyways, that's not what I'm here to talk about today. I am here to discuss the future of golf because the US Open is coming up this week. And as we know, this is one of the fields, a major field, where we see all of the best in the world come together. We used to see that every single week before Live Golf popped up. And I'm not here to discuss the good and the bad of Live Golf because A, there's two different perspectives on how you could look at Live Golf. You could look at it from the political and moral sense with the Saudis and what they may or may not do, or you can look at it from the perspective that I usually look at it of how does this affect the golf consumer and most importantly, the future golf consumer so the game can grow even more. That's one bucket. The other bucket is the financial portion of it, which is just a whole other can of worms where the PGA Tour, if you don't make a cut, you're not getting paid. And Liv is putting out all of these big $100 million guaranteed deals. But it doesn't look like they're going to be doing that for much longer. Bryson DeChambeau was called up to the podium for the US Open. He's always phenomenal with the media. And it's been reported that Liv and the managers of Liv have told players to not expect the $100+ million guaranteed deals that they use to launch the brand, league, whatever you want to call it, in the first place. Phil Mickelson signed for 200 million. Bryson was another 300. John Rahm was around that same price. Liv has told these players don't quite expect that same kind of payday. And this isn't necessarily due to a lack of commercial success. Liv has actually performed to just a little bit above the point of what was expected of them. But the issue with Live Golf is how it affects the world of golf as a whole and how the future of it will be shaped. Because if you don't watch a lot of Live Golf, and I will admit I'm no expert, but there's obviously the individual portion of it, and then there's the team aspect to it. So you have different captains for each of these squads. And the complication that these teams bring to the game is just like in TGL, which I thought was phenomenal this year. These teams have investors, they have sponsors, they have buy-ins, they have all of the finances and corporate work that goes with an actual professional sports team like a New York Yankees or whatever you want to say, a Dallas Cowboys. So if you were to leave Live Golf, not only are you going into a much more volatile financial situation with the PGA Tour, you're also kind of abandoning this team, this group of friends that you've helped build throughout the last 4 to 5 years. So there's different kind of hooks in the live ecosystem that make it difficult for players to leave. With that said, Bryson's contract, he confirmed in the same press conference I was referring to before, ends in 2026. It's reported that Brooks Koepka, in particular, one of the biggest names on Live currently, has been wanting to come back to the tour for a while. This was mentioned by Fred Couples, of all people, who played a practice round with Brooks Koepka at the Masters this year. And John Rahm, if you know anything about his career with Liv so far, he has been far from the biggest proponent of what Liv does. He has been a constant critique of Liv's extracurricular activities that go on during tournaments outside of golf. The drones that they use was a big story for him for a while. The fact that it's only 54 holes. There's just a bunch of little things. The music. There's a bunch of little things that have really irritated John Rahm, or at least that's what's been reported. I obviously don't know John Rahm personally, although if you would like to get to know me personally, I am a 15 handicap. But anyways, what this means for the future of golf is I think reliant almost entirely on how the PGA Tour wants to handle receiving these live players back into their ecosystem, because it's not going to be seamless. Like I mentioned, there's the team element, but there's also the individual content creation aspect, which has been such an important part of live golf. It's the reason why Wesley Bryan was suspended from the PGA Tour. He participated in Liv's content creator tournament, and you can't do that with the PGA Tour guidelines, and he's been banned for it. Bryson DeChambeau, he's built a YouTube, I don't want to say empire because that sounds just too blatant, but he's built a enormous YouTube platform, which he has described as one of the best things that has ever happened to him. Because I'm sure you know, if you've watched golf enough, Bryson was not a likable figure early in his career. He was polarizing to say the least. He was a very love him or hate him kind of guy. He played incredibly slow. He looked at golf more as a numbers and science kind of game, which was completely opposite to Brooks Koepka, who tries to make golf as reactionary a game as he possibly can, which kind of created a rift between those two. He tried a bunch of various putting techniques, a bunch were banned. So he has clearly revolutionized himself, revitalized his brand into one of the most likable fan favorite players in golf right now through his YouTube channel. Now, the PGA Tour has loosened its grip on players' ability to market themselves. Now, the PGA Tour has encouraged players to use social media for years, ever since Twitter was invented, really. They want their players to become as big of brands as they can, with the exception of making direct earnings off of tour profits and broadcasts. And what that means is Bryson with Live, he can film events there a couple of days before the tournament, film his practice round. He can make exclusive content behind the scenes on the course, whereas the PGA Tour is much more strict in that area. So, in my opinion, with the fact you also have people on the live side like Phil Mickelson who have started a YouTube channel, and that's going pretty well with his tips, and the team aspect, the PGA Tour is going to have to do what its worst nightmare is and just rid itself of the tradition that it has. And that's not going to be easy to do. The PGA Tour is a lot like the MLB to me. It's very rigid, it's steeped in history and days of years past. But this live thing was a huge wake-up call, and they clearly answered the bell on a couple of things. Full Swing was, in my opinion, a big success. I enjoyed it a lot, although it's heavily produced. It's not the look into a Bryson DeChambeau's brain the way his YouTube channel is, or a look into Scotty Scheffler's brain the way it is when he's playing with a Grant Horvat. So I thought it was very successful, but again, there's things that they could do better. Same with the Creator Classic. I thought it was well done, but there were some players who were excluded for deals that they may or may not have with Live or other brands. And Rick Shields comes to mind. Why wasn't he invited in the field? Like, they're trying, but they clearly are hesitant to let go of the past guidelines and strict rules that have governed the PGA Tour for a very long time. So with content creation, that's a pretty simple fix. You loosen up the rules completely, let guys have their channels, film their practice rounds. Obviously, when it comes down to Thursday and the tournament actually starts, that's the PGA Tour's bread and butter. You can't infringe on those television rights. Totally understand that. With the team aspect, it's a lot more complicated because you have two ends of a coin here. One end is if the let me phrase this correctly. If the captain of each team leaves their team evaluation shrinks down to practically nothing. If Bryson DeChambeau left the Crushers right now, that team that's worth, I want to say around $150 million right now, would probably be reduced to about $30 million. If Phil Mickelson left the High Flyers, I can't remember what teams Brooks Koepka is the captain of, but you understand what I mean. If that happens, the team's value is squandered. But on the other end of that same coin, if those players want to keep their team value, stick with their guys, they're going to have to bring in a whole new element to the PGA Tour, which has never even really been explored before in team golf. Now, obviously, they have events every now and then where you can team up, but in terms of like a college kind of feel to the game, that's always been restricted for college. And once you get to the PGA Tour, it's every man for himself. So, how would a team system work in the PGA Tour? Well, again, those are schematics that are going to be left to people with much higher payrolls than what I have right now. But I think it can be arranged with a similar but different format to what the Live Tour has. I'm going to work under the presumption that everybody is back on the PGA Tour. If that happens, it's really simple how you make these teams work. Super, super simple. You make a captain from each of the top 10 players in the world. You draft three guys. So that's what, 40, depending on how many teams you have, let's say that's 40 people. And the rest of the field is working to get on one of these teams. There's a draft every single year. Television loves drafts. Just ask the NFL or the NHL or the NBA or the MLB. Ask any league. The drafts are awesome. There should be a draft every year where if a rookie's coming up, there's that guy who just came out of North Carolina. He gets drafted to a team next year, and it goes by bottom to top. If you were the worst team, you get the best pick. If you were the best team, you get the worst pick. And if you didn't play well enough to stay on that team, there it can either be the captain's pick or the general manager. Again, the specifics aren't up to me. But in this general concept, not only do I think that this would bring an extra television element to it with the draft, I think it would bring even more high stakes drama. So you care a lot more about the 40th ranked golfer in the world because he might get cut from his team. And obviously, with these teams, there will be perks. You'd get some guaranteed money, guaranteed spots in tournaments. I don't know exactly how it would work, but I do know as a general idea, having a certain amount of teams and a certain amount of players that can be on those teams in relation to the hundreds of players in the PGA Tour field would make it seem like a bloodbath, not just at the top of the tournament where everyone's watching, but at the cut lines, because you never know how the teams are going to look from year to year. It's a general idea that I have. Don't know, again, the specific schematics of it, but I know that the idea could work beautifully. I hope that the two leagues come together sooner rather than later. I don't think anyone who's an avid golf fan has enjoyed not seeing John Rahm and Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau at these PGA Tour events, especially these signature events. And it Live has done good things. It's increased the purses on a lot of events. It's made golf a lot more accessible. I think it's been a big element of the rise of YouTube golf and the access that they've given. But it's time to merge and it's time to figure out a way how. And I think Team PGA Tour golf, with obviously individual golf being a more important, but that team element still being there as kind of a fallback for players, I think would be really, really cool and amazing for the future of golf. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, I want to know, did you enjoy me talking about golf on this channel? Leave a comment down below. What did you think of my idea for the teams merging? Did you like it? Did you not? I'm small enough as to where I can read all comments and love doing so. So please drop something down there. Please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed what you heard. Please subscribe if you really enjoyed it. The Spit Sports Show just hit over 400 subscribers. And as always, I will see you all in the next one. Peace out. I love you guys.